Good afternoon. My name is Stella Natufe, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop webinar series. We have adapted our regular business education workshop into these webinars until further notice. The BACP Small Business Center is now open to limited in-person visits Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Mask and social distancing will be required, and remote consultations are strongly encouraged. Please visit www.chicagobusinessdirect.org or call 312-744-6249. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you want to learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. To help guide your business and employees during Chicago's reopening process, please visit www.chicago.gov/reopening. Also, BACP and the City of Chicago's Office of Emergency Management and Communications created Shy Biz Emergency Alerts. You can opt in to receive targeted emergency alerts for the business community. If you are interested, please visit chicago.gov/Shy Biz Alerts. We would like to encourage all of our attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is entitled Exporting, Why Go International, and What Resources Are Available to Help You, presented by Illinois SBDC International Trade Center. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Bill McNamara.
Thank you, Stella. Greetings, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well today. And let's go into talk about exporting. I'll introduce the organization I work for, and we'll just get started. Again, Bill McNamara. I'm the director of and get ready for this, the International SBDC, a Small Business Development Center, International Trade Center at the Women's Business Development Center in downtown Chicago. So the women's, I have to introduce who's who, okay? So the Women's Business Development Center is on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. It's a nonprofit, a very well-known, well-established nonprofit, founded in 1986. That's quite well-known nationally in the field of women's economic development. And the WBDC is there to provide programs and services to support and accelerate women's businesses. Now, actually, there are men-owned businesses and there are veteran-owned businesses there as well. And the WBDC functions again to incubate and assist businesses to grow. So what else is at the WBDC, the Women's Business Development Center? They've got what's called an Illinois SBDC, which is there to develop, let's say, domestic business, right? So keep in mind that this organization can help you with your business just functioning and growing in the US and in Illinois. They can help you with things like how to start up, about industry research, talking about your business plan, talking about funding and financing. So the organization's available for that. And there's a sister organization housed within the WBDC as well called the PTAC. And that's if you want to, that's guidance and assistance and counseling if you want to sell to governments, the city, the O'Hare Airport, the state, the federal government. And there's a lot of help on how to do that. So that's also housed along with myself at the International Trade Center at this organization on Michigan Avenue. So what do we do at the International Trade Center, which is where I am housed as well? What we do is we provide export advice to help businesses enter and expand in global markets. And I'm an extension of the State of Illinois Office of Trade and Investment. So I've got clients throughout the city of Chicago. That's my region, the city of Chicago. And I help companies both within the WBDC, but also outside the WBDC, all around, clients all around Chicago. And I help them with talking about their export planning and their strategy and market research about finding out which countries to go to, and just the functional parts of international business, like how do I get it there? What about the paperwork? How do I get paid? And we'll get into all this a little bit later. But I think the idea is there's just a whole host of people here to help you. Okay, so who am I? I'm born and raised in Chicago, and that's why it's interesting to me to help Chicago businesses today. I've spoken to a lot of different groups and associations, but never specifically associated with the city of Chicago. So I'm interested in this. This is fun. My background is 30 years in the private sector, working with American companies, building and growing their international businesses. So that's what I did for a career. It took me all over the world, lived on 4 different continents. I've lost track of the number of countries I've been to doing business. And that gives me, and I've been involved in a lot of different products and industries. So that gives me real good broad perspective on international business and how to grow. And now I've been at the International Trade Center about 18 months, and rather than doing that work myself, I counsel and advise companies how to do it. So I've been in the international trade community in Chicago for a long time, members of international trade associations and groups and councils around the Chicago area. And again, I'm from Chicago, and yeah, I'm glad to be here today. So what are we going to talk about? First, we're going to talk about, let's say, a general and conceptual idea about why it's a good idea to export, no matter how big your business is. And then I'll go into government resources that are available to help you at the city, at the state level, at the federal level, and again, just describe this network or ecosystem that's there. Okay. So we're going to talk about exports. I know there may be some companies that import here too. Some of this information is going to be useful, but the focus is is on exporting, right? Why is that? Because governments encourage exporting because exporting brings money to the state, the city, and the country. So it's healthy to export, and so that's why the government provides resources to support exporters. So we'll talk about whether your company has product or service. This is going to be relevant to either one. I might say the word your widget. That just means your product or your service as I'm going through this presentation. And this information is relevant whether you're just starting out and you want to explore exporting and how that would work and what you would do, or you may already export to 3 or 5 countries and want to add some more countries and go elsewhere. So what we're talking about today is more targeted towards setting up a business to export, right? And setting up an export process and setting up an export structure, less about doing a deal, doing a transaction, doing a one-time thing with somebody overseas. And an ongoing premise of how I look at this is you have an established business in the US market. This is the best indicator that you're healthy or able to go overseas, that you've got something up and running in the US, your operations are down, your processes are down, you've got things, you understand how you compete, you understand what value you have to buyers. That's what we build off of. So that's going to be a premise that'll come up a few times in this presentation that lies behind what we're talking about today. So let's start. Why go international? Well, first, let's look at some data out there that the U.S. Department of Commerce provides. 95% of the world's population lives outside the USA. So let's go where the people are, right? 85% of the world's money is outside the USA. Let's go where the money is. That's a good reason to export. And you may think like, okay, this is for just big businesses. It's not for me. I'm a small startup. I'm a small company. Well, 80% of U.S. exporters have less than 20 employees. 60% of small companies export more than 20% of their sales. So you as a small company looking to export, wanting to export, you're not alone, or it's common, as these numbers tell you. And there's benefits to your business. The Department of Commerce says that companies, according to their studies and their data, that companies that export are more profitable than those who don't, and that companies that export have a higher value than those who don't. Okay, so that means a higher value. If you someday you want to sell your company, those with an export base will have a higher selling price. And Illinois is a powerhouse in terms of exporting. And going back to 2003, $25 billion of exports from Illinois alone. the last reported year, 2018, 65 billion, call it now about $70 billion of Illinois exports every year. Illinois is the largest exporting state in the Midwest, number 5 in the US. So what that says is there's a lot of people around, particularly in the Chicago area, that know how to export, right? So they're there to help you. They could be public, they could be government, they could be private sector providers, but there's a lot of people around that know about exporting that are there to help you. So again, that ecosystem's there for you. SMEs, of that 65 billion, SMEs ship about 23% of the total for Illinois. Top markets that we go to for in Illinois companies: Canada, Mexico, China, Germany, Australia, Japan, UK, Brazil, and others. And know that the state of Illinois promotes exports aggressively, and there are grants available to help you get going on exports. And I'll describe these grants and what they look like a bit later. So why export? Because it's good strategy to export. Let's start with that. You're a business owner, and you have to ask yourself all the time, how do I grow my business? And there's a lot of different answers, but that's a very important question, right? Oh, maybe I'll add 3 marketing people to bring some horsepower to my marketing efforts. Maybe I'll add 3 products to my product line to grow my business. Or looking into exporting is another legitimate, reasonable answer to that question. Going to more markets diversifies your business. You're less dependent on just the US economy, and that reduces your risk. What's the saying is, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what this is about. Whether it's eggs in a basket or stocks in a portfolio, diversifying reduces risk, and that's good for the business. So that's what international does for you. And as we go through, as I think of anecdotes, I'll bring them forward. Let's say back in the day in 2009, 2010, where there was the Great Recession. My job's always been, my private sector job was just worldwide director of an American company selling everywhere, right? So when the bottom would drop out of the European economy back in 2010, China was going. So we focused our time on China and sold there. And that's just what we're talking about now, that there's always some place else you can go where there's some opportunity. What else about makes good strategy and exporting? If it grows, as it grows your business, it adds to your production. That builds economies of scale. It lowers your unit cost across your entire business. Another part is, let's talk strategy. Are your US competitors going international? And they're getting all these benefits? If so, you have an incentive to keep up. Let's talk more about strategy. Okay, let's go back that since COVID, the game has changed. Are you still playing the same game, the same strategy you did 18 months ago? The game's changed now. Exporting may be a way, and you've probably pivoted. You probably have adapted to the new environment we're in now. Exporting could be another extension of adapting to the post-COVID age, looking for new markets. Okay. Exporting can even out the seasonality of your business. For example, if you're selling lawn furniture in the summer here, and you get into January, your business dies in Chicago. But guess what? It's summer in the Southern Hemisphere and high season there. So there are businesses that take advantage of this, small, medium, and large businesses that take advantage of the seasonality and how things are in the Southern Hemisphere when it's winter here. Exporting can be a place to sell products that are late in the US market life cycle. It can be a place to, old, obsolete products, old, obsolete products. You know what, back in the day, whenever the Chicago Bears were good, it was 2017 or 2018, all those Chicago Bears Super Bowl champs t-shirts, where the Bears did not make it to the Super Bowl, they ended up in Latin America and Thailand, and I've seen them. Guatemala there. So they're a place that, again, products that are not sellable anymore in the US can be sold overseas. And typically, I'll come back to this premise, you will consider exporting after establishing your business in the US. Your things are up and running, your processes are set, and you know how to compete. And again, that's the important part. Starting your business on exporting is a pretty tough way to go. It's doable. Companies have done it. But to me, it's the hard road. Get up and running first, and then let's talk. So why will U.S. exports continue to grow? There's a lot of reasons where things are positive for exporting right now. With the growth of e-commerce and better logistics, exporting is just getting more common. It's easier, okay? Even for the smallest companies. The U.S. has free trade agreements with 20 countries. This makes exporting easier to those countries and enhances your position in those markets. For example, one of those countries is Israel. And let's say your product sells for $100 and it's bought for $100 plus shipping to Israel, okay? Let's say you compete against an Italian product. Well, Italy, it comes in tax duty free. Your $100 product costs $100 over in Israel. But Italy doesn't have that free trade agreement, so the import duties come in on the Italian product, therefore you have an advantage. So US free trade agreements with these 20 countries gives us an advantage. There's a affinity for US products and recognition and familiarity with US products in those countries, so that helps grow trade. US goods and services are perceived worldwide as being high quality and innovative with excellent customer service behind them. US brands have credibility. Full stop. That's another good reason to export, because I'm guessing that US companies, good names, US companies, US brands have traveled the world for years. And cross-border trade will continue to grow. Okay, there's COVID and there's lots of talk of the end of globalization. But you know what? There's a lot of people, a lot of governments, a lot of organizations out there today that are continuing to work to reduce barriers and grow international trade. You may have heard of some of these: the WTO, World Trade Organization, the European Union, Mercosur is a free trade group of South America, the African Free Trade Agreement. There's all these people that are out there trying to make it easier to trade across border, and therefore for us to export. Yes, okay, there will be impacts of COVID-19. That's called supply chains shrinking. So that a company that manufactures in China may bring it back to the US or may bring it closer to home in Mexico. But that's gonna happen. But selling across borders is not gonna stop. People are still gonna demand products that are unique or high quality or high value that they can't buy in their home countries. And here's an important point. Exporting can make yours a better business. It's sort of like in sports. If somebody plays at the highest level, it enhances their position in anything they do, right? So selling internationally brings new challenges, new insights, new ways to do business. You'll encounter different problems, and come up with different solutions that you wouldn't have thought that you could possibly apply to your home business, to the domestic market, right? So it brings exposure to new cultures, different ways of thinking. It gives you a broader perspective on how to compete. Again, something you learn overseas, you might bring back and be able to apply to your US business to grow it here. Again, from these type of situations, the encounters with new ideas and cultures and challenges and problems overseas, you'll learn. Adds to your knowledge, adds to your skills of your business, and makes your business stronger. And here's something that's not in the international business textbooks, but exporting your business, it can be more fun. So you're a business owner, and you can take this business where you want it to go, right? And you're the boss. Well, guess what? If you might want to go to the trade show in Orlando or Las Vegas for the 8th or 10th year in a row, but how about exploring international business and go to a trade show in Sydney or Cape Town or Abu Dhabi or Stockholm? Why not? You're the boss, so have some fun with the business as well and make it more interesting. And I can tell you, I know people that have done that. An anecdote: I worked for a company with a factory in Detroit. They outgrew it. It was a family business, successful industrial business out of Detroit. We need a new factory. Let's see. Well, the best place we can put, the best economic place to put that factory, could have been Arkansas or Alabama. They ended up putting it in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Why? Because there's 65 golf courses there, and the family loved the golf. So they put the factory in Myrtle Beach. E-commerce is driving international trade and exporting an international business. The pandemic has given a huge boost to e-commerce. With a web presence, you can have an international marketing and sales platform. E-commerce is growing. It's projected to grow to over $2 trillion in the years ahead. And China is the biggest e-commerce market in the world right now. Okay, if you want to go international via e-commerce, there's some things you got to do. You've got a website localization might be what you need to do. That means that today somebody in France goes onto Google and looks for your product category, you don't come up. But if you register in google.fr, Google France, and they look for your product after you register there, you come up and they can find you. That's what website localization. You'd have to do that possibly to grow. Maybe you have to translate some things. Maybe you need a mobile friendly website. So there's things you have to do to get into international e-commerce, but companies do it. Let's talk a little more about e-commerce and the international marketplace. So there's a lot of options out there. You can use online B2B, B2C marketplaces that offer virtual storefronts on the global market. You ship your goods direct to those users, or you could use, for example, okay, you're on Amazon. That's what this is about, or Alibaba in China, or what's the name of the one in Latin America? I'm drawing a blank. There's a Latin American one. There's a Japanese virtual Amazon, so to speak, right? So let's say you get 100 orders with Amazon in Europe. You can ship 100 orders to those 100 people in Germany, or you can ship a container to somebody to fulfill those orders and those 100 orders in Germany. So there's ways to set it up. You can work with your own website. You don't have to work with Amazon or Alibaba or any of these others. You can work with your own. Maybe you connect with Shopify and some others, where again, the storefront is yours and you ship globally. And you can set it up that you can ship to a fulfiller, ship to a warehouse overseas, and they'll ship the last mile to those customers. E-commerce can be a good first step to exporting and a way to gauge demand in a new market. Now there's a whole, and the word I'll use is ecosystem. There's a whole ecosystem of providers that can help you get this up and running, right? They can help you with how to design your website, how to get it localized that certain countries can find you, how to offer payment solutions, how to handle the paperwork that happens when a product crosses a border, right? How to handle the shipping. There's a whole, again, ecosystem constellation of companies that's what they do. Okay, they're not free, but there's companies that know what they're doing. They can help. And there are virtual trade shows and trade missions going on now. You can go overseas virtually and try some things out. It's a way to check for new markets. What about international retailer? Maybe your products now are in Walgreens or Macy's or Home Depot. Placing your products with US retailers gives you instant credibility overseas. If you're in Macy's here, Harrods the UK, they would assume that if you're good enough for US retail in terms of your product, your operations and support, you probably can meet their needs. So you've got credibility. It's a way to get in the door. Many US retailers have foreign locations. Some retailers have centralized decision-making for new products, meaning that, okay, there's a headquarters here and they're in 5 different countries and they'll decide here in the US to send your products to the US market and all those 5 other countries. Some companies, the way they're structured, will leave it to the local country to decide. So you figure that out. Can the US headquarters introduce you to the foreign locations, or can you just follow them where you go? Okay, international retailer has its own set of issues you have to deal with: language, labels, packaging, logistics. If it's a food product, there's other regulations and hurdles. But again, other companies have dealt with these and are selling internationally. Talking more about international retail, you can follow US retailers overseas, right? Again, many US retailers have foreign locations. Some retailers have, again, the centralized decision making. Walgreens has over 13,000 stores in 11 countries. Home Depot has 180 stores in Canada and 100 in Mexico. Sally Beauty has 5,000 stores in the US and 11 other countries. So if you're in these, it's a way for you to travel international and sell internationally just by following these companies. And remember, a retail sales channel can coexist with your other efforts, right? Here's something to remember. It's a multi-channel world. In a particular country, you may sell on your e-commerce website, you may sell via the local Macy's, and you may sell your products by an industrial distributor like Grainger. and they all go into the same market. They all go into different segments in that market, so they can all coexist. And it's just the way you would construct your business country by country. Why there's a pandemic going on now? Why do I want to export? Well, these are uncertain times, but uncertainty is not the same as risk. Entrepreneurs thrive in times of uncertainties. Events such as pandemics and recessions act as filters that weed out weak businesses. Opportunities exist in these times. So let's go back to 2009, 2010, the Great Recession. Where did Airbnb come from? Where did Uber come from? They came out of that. And the COVID era, where did Zoom, did anybody hear of Zoom 2 years ago? No. So Zoom had reacted to this COVID quote unquote opportunity and thrived. So you know what it is? It's sort of like, right, COVID's been a board game and somebody turned over the table and started the game over. So it's like, let's put it back together. Let's see where the opportunities are. And when things are shaken up like they've been, again, there are openings. Why export now? Why now? Why is that? Well, for one thing, potential international partners are like you. That distributor is sitting there in Australia or Germany or Chile or Saudi Arabia saying, I need to grow. How am I going to do that? They're looking for ways to grow too. Oh, and then here comes your new innovative product. It's unique to that market. They see an opportunity to grow, and your product can provide that. Market disruption. Is there new room in the market because there was some competitor that failed? Did you have a competitor or a big player in the market that failed because of COVID? Okay, there's an opening for you there. And here's something that's important. The US dollar is getting weaker in a lot of regions. When the US dollar goes down, that lowers the US price in that international market. That's very important. The US dollar has gone down, I don't know, probably 15% in the Canadian market in the last 2 years, right? So your product, without you doing anything, is 15% cheaper than it was 2 years ago in Canada, okay? So that is an opportunity. As COVID goes, so goes economies, right? So the pandemic has subsided in a lot of places. Economic activity's coming back. Prepare now for the rebound. And the rebound is more than underway in some countries. But exporting is a journey. It takes a while, right? So start now to target 2022 sales for exports. Finally, it's a big world out there. There's opportunity somewhere. And this was the sort of the fortunate part of my job when I had that global responsibility. If one region or one continent or one hemisphere went down, I could also always find some place to go sell my products because there was opportunity someplace. So it's a $75 trillion global economy out there. If you're $1 million business that's looking to grow by $500,000, there's room out there in that $75 trillion economy for you. Okay, so opportunity exists. So there's people to help, and it starts at the International Trade Center. And if you're a Chicago company, again, we're the Chicago International Trade Center to help you at the WBDC. And I'll go through like, okay, now we can get into some of these resources and what they do and what they have. And basically at the end, if you're looking for introductions and the gateway to these people, I'll give you my contact info and I can help you. So let's start with the first level is the International Trade Centers. And the International Trade Centers are government-funded offices. They're across the U.S. in each state. There's 8 of them in Illinois, and we're your gateway to exporting. Our purpose is to assist you in navigating the export process, from getting started to, okay, you're already doing it and you want to grow. I came across a company, just started with a new client this week that sells to like five countries. But like, you know what, we're getting stagnant. We're looking for new business. Can you help us find the next 5 countries to go to? So we're doing some work for them to help them with that. The International Trade Centers have a small, medium-sized business focus. So again, we're there to help you start or grow. And you as a small company, you as a startup, that's why we're here. You're our customer. So, you know, don't feel shy or reluctant to reach out, because that's what our job is to help you. And we can offer advice on all aspects of exporting: the logistics part, the documentation part, getting paid, the regulations and compliance. What should I sell via distribution? Should I sell direct? What about legal issues? We can help you. If we don't know, we can access and find an expert to help you, or a provider in that field to help you out. So the International Trade Center, again, we're there to help if you're exporting, right? We provide access to other government resources at the state level, like this office in Illinois, at the federal level, the U.S. Commercial Service, the Ex-Im Bank, the Small Business Administration. They all have locations in Chicago, and we can help you access them. We can introduce you to targeted assistance for minority businesses. There are government organizations set up to help minority business specifically, and we can connect you. We can assist you with the grant programs. We'll get into that later. But in Illinois, there's government, they're called STEP programs that are available. We can provide introductions to special programs if you're in the food business. And again, you got a one-time question, how do I do this? Or can you connect me with this, somebody can help me with this legal problem? Or you're saying, okay, I've got a business, I'm up and running and I want to export, how can you help me? And it's a long journey, we can help with that too. In general, okay, let's say you come to the International Trade Center. What's the process? What will we do? Well, let's start first and talk about your business, right? And this is how I handle it, and it's pretty general with all the international trade centers coast to coast, is let's understand your business. How do you sell? Why do people buy from you? Just understanding your value proposition, understanding how do you compete, understanding how, I want to understand how are you differentiated, which is like, why is somebody in California you're going to buy your product? Why is somebody in Canada or France or South Africa not going to buy your product? Need to understand that, right? And with that, we go forward. I'm going to ask you, do you have the resources to support your export growth? Because it's going to, there's some time and effort and resources involved to grow, right? Whether it's investing in some market research, or investing to go to a trade show, or investing to get a CE mark to allow you to sell into European markets. We can talk about strategy, about how to construct the channel and what markets to go to. We can do some research for you. I had a company come to me and saying, okay, again, we're a well-established company in the US, where do we go? So what we did for them was did some research, found out that, for example, these are the top 5 countries around the world that buy the products that you and your competitors sell internationally. And so if your competitors can sell in those 5 countries, why can't you? So we go look at countries, right? Now we look at markets. Maybe it's the retail, we look at the hotel market, the medical market, the retail market. There's different markets within countries. We'll identify that. We'll look at segments within every one of these markets, right? So maybe within education space, there could be public providers and private sector providers. And we can look at each of these and try to narrow down. Once we understand where we want to go to, we need to construct that bridge or that channel to get there. And we'll understand what does that look like? How do we contact those users, those buyers, whether they're companies or consumers? And we set that channel up. And this is where I would reach out typically to either the state or the US for assistance, saying, okay, we've understand that, for example, I'm working with a company in the pet space, right? Pet products, that I'll go to the US Commerce Department guy in Germany and say, I sell my product today in Petco and PetSmart in the US, and I'm looking for the Petco and the PetSmart of Germany. Very clear. They know they can go out, they can find that partner, and we can go on from there. Typically, they would come back and say, okay, here's 5 companies that we think you could work with. And that's what I spent my career doing, is that partner search, partner evaluation, partner selection. I could just help you walk through that process as we narrow down maybe 5 or 10 prospects to the best one to deal with in that country. And then, okay, time to get started, but there's certain negotiations too, right? Like who's going to do what? Both parties have to put some money into the game. We can guide you on that. We build that international team of experts for you, meaning, okay, just like you have a team for your business now, you have an accountant and a lawyer and some other people. Internationally, we're going to need somebody who knows about international payments, about international, possibly intellectual property protection. We need somebody to know how to ship across border, and we'll help you create your international team for exporting. And then there you go. You begin exporting, and we're there to assist if as needed going forward. The International Trade Centers, what I do and what we do is typically just put out information too. So here's free webinars that we've put on in the last year. So just get on our mailing list and we'll let you know when these happen. They go for about an hour. I'll put them on about once a month, and just different international trade topics that will educate you on these topics and then able to connect you with experts on these topics further. For example, the freight forwarding, I brought in a freight forwarding logistics expert, introduced him, talked to him about it. He presented, and then he's available there to assist you going forward. All right, the next step is the state. So let's talk about the Illinois Department of Commerce. Illinois Department of Commerce is there to help Illinois companies export, right? It helps the Illinois economy when companies export. So they have people around, and that's their job, is to help you with that. So Illinois has a global network. There's offices you can see in Tokyo and China, and Mexico, and Canada, Israel, and Belgium. And typically I'll reach out to these offices, these state employees, to help us. So in the case of this pet care company that I'm working with, we went to Tokyo and said, okay, yeah, again, we're in Petco and we're in PetSmart. Can you identify the equivalent of that in Tokyo? He came back with 5 companies. We did our research and said, okay, here's 3 of those that look interesting to us. Will you introduce us to these 3 companies? And then we're in the process of that right now. So that's the type of thing, assistance that the Illinois Global Network can provide to you. So in this, again, I'm the gateway, and I'm able to connect you with any of these folks. The SBDC, I'm part of that, is an international trade center, the Small Business Administration, U.S. Commercial Service, and XIM. So, and that down in the bottom in blue, it says Robust International Trade Network. Again, that exists, and they're there to help you, and we can help connect. So let's talk about that grant program that I referred to. It's called the ISTEP program. This is managed by the state of Illinois. Qualified Illinois businesses can apply for the STEP program, which provides financial reimbursement to companies to offset the costs associated with exports. So it could be and as we're getting back from virtual to trade shows and trade missions, they subsidize Illinois companies on trade missions, being in trade shows, with the website localization. As I told you before, when we talked about Google France, it costs money to get yourself registered with Google France. There's money in other countries, of course. There's money available to support that with product certifications. I'm working with a company that needs to get the CE mark, which will allow them to enter the European market. And it's going to cost them about $12,000. Well, the state of Illinois will fund up till $6,000 of that. So they'll subsidize that, of that $6,000, of that $12,000, to allow them to get into the European market. Now, it's a grant, it's free money, but there's a lot of paperwork to go through. And from the state of Illinois point of view, it's like, okay, we have these several $1 million that we have to help our companies, our Illinois companies, export. They don't just hand it out to everybody. It's almost like they look at it like a banker does, looking for return on investment. So there's a lot of preparation involved. You got to really think through your strategy. It's almost like applying for a bank loan, that like, okay, if we get this money, this is what's going to happen, etc. But we're there to walk you through the process and help you and position you to give you the best chance to get that grant. And here's the eligibility requirements on the grants. 1 year in business, fewer than 500 employees, 250,000 in revenue, and then you understand the costs about exporting, and you're willing to, you've got a strategy to export. And again, we can help you develop that strategy for exporting. And it's important, 51% US and 25% Illinois content. So I'm working with a company that sells products in the US and internationally, but they source it outside the US, so they're not eligible. Okay, the next step up is the federal government, the U.S. Commercial Service. What do? You know what? They can do a lot. They can help you, and each year the U.S. Commercial Service helps thousands of companies export their goods and service. They've got a network of trade professionals in the U.S. and also in embassies and consulates all over the world. So whether it's your first sale or you just want to grow, they can help you, and they really can. They're in pretty much every embassy, every country around the world. Separately, the U.S. Commercial Service has got this e-commerce innovation lab that helps companies um, explore their e-commerce channel and build it up. So there's just a whole segment of, if there's a whole body of information out there just to help you get your e-commerce up and running. The U.S. Commercial Service has a lot of content available on their website, just information, education, how to tips. So just guides and information about particular markets. So they also publish on their website masses of information, again, that can help you with your export. Business matchmaking is something they do, and this is I think some of their best work. So you've got let's say you've got I'll give you a story of Saudi Arabia that I was looking to working with a company expanding into Saudi Arabia. And what you've got is the U.S. Commercial Service in the U.S. Embassy in Saudi, and you've got the Americans that come in, that cycle through every 2 to 3 years, and then there's a dozen or so locals that have been working at the embassy for years, and they know what's going on in the market. You know, one guy could be in the automotive space, and he knows everybody in the automotive space. So we come to the Saudi embassy and say, we're looking for distributors. We've got an automotive product. We're looking for distributors who are in the automotive space that can resell to the automotive market. The locals in the U.S. Commercial Service and the embassy knew 10 companies to go to right away, sent our information out to 10 companies. 5 came back interested, gave us information about the pros and cons of each of these. So they pre-screen them, they know the potential partners, they can help connect with those partners, and that's a very valuable service. So that's out there. Market intelligence, again, they've got a lot of that. They've got general information that they publish about general markets like the automotive market, the healthcare market. There's a lot of information out there about that, but if you need further information and for a fee, for a cost, they can do a deeper dive into analysis for the potential for your products and do more of a deep dive on prospects and issues about your particular product in a particular market. They can conduct background checks. I'm working with a company now that says, you know what, we're a successful company here in the U.S. and I just heard from this company in Vietnam says they want to take our products and sell it to Vietnam in their online platform. We don't know who they are. We can reach out to the U.S. Embassy in Vietnam and say, who are these people? Can you do a background check? And they'll do that on the potential buyers and potential sellers and distributors. And they can help with interpretation, transportation, et cetera. I went on a sales trip to Brazil years ago, and I started at the U.S. Embassy. And again, it's for fee, but it's not. Everything is subsidized, right? So market research might cost $700 or $900. It's not like it's costing $7,000, right? It's reasonable money in my mind. So I show up in Brazil, and I started at the embassy, and I said beforehand, it was all set up. I said, this is my product, this is the channel, this is the people I'm looking for. Started at the embassy. I had somebody go out with me. I had arranged visits with 5 companies, went with me, arranged, said, we have a car for the day. We're going to go hit these 5 companies around Sao Paulo. We're going to talk to them. He did the interpreting as well, handled the transportation, handled the security, set up the meetings, and went with me to all the 5 meetings and we selected one to be a partner, and it was turned into good business for the company. So this is what they do. There's capabilities out there. They're there to help you. Another part of the U.S. government that can help is the Small Business Administration. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this other than saying the SBA has 3 programs there to help. A lot of it has to do with getting capital. If you get an order for $1 million and you need some money to to build that $1 million of product to sell, they can help you with that. The SBA has an office in downtown Chicago that we can help you with. And you can look at this further when we send you the slide deck later. Another entity there to help you is the US EXIM Bank, and I've worked with the EXIM Bank with small size exporters. Again, you don't have to be Boeing or a big company or Abbott Labs or somebody to get assistance from the US EXIM Bank. They're there and they've got programs for small, medium-sized exporters, and they do different things. They can provide capital, working capital. They can provide loans. But the typical thing they do for small and medium-sized business is increasing competitiveness by enabling open account credit terms to international buyers. So what that is they sell credit insurance. I'm working with a company now that's got about 125, and it's a brand new company that I'm working with. I just met them a couple of weeks ago. They've been in business for almost 20 years. They've got 125 international accounts. They're all on cash paid basis, prepaid basis. And to me, that's a huge opening to improve their competitiveness by introducing them to EXIM. So what EXIM can do is provide, okay, why don't you, because here's the problem is you've got your 125 accounts and you've got competitors around the world. What happens if your competitor from the UK comes into your 125 accounts and says, okay, we can provide a similar product, and guess what? Net 60, pay us in 60 days. They have an advantage over you, okay? What the EXIM can do, can come in and say, all right, company, you can also offer net 60, and we'll insure your receivables. We'll insure up to 95% of the receivable, and that allows you to sell net 60 and match the competitiveness of that UK company. So the EXIM has that product, and I know small, medium-sized businesses are using it. The people in Chicago are really good. And if you've got an interest in that, we'll connect you. And again, here's the office in Chicago. There's the Department of Commerce, the SBA and EXIM, and they're all housed in the same place. And again, it's part of this ecosystem that's there to help you start or grow your exports. You know what? That about wraps it up. Going international is hard work, but it's good for your business. There's no shortcut, there's no halfways, but it requires your determination and ongoing commitment. But there's a lot of rewards to it, and I'm here to assist. So there's my contact information. We're located Michigan Avenue in Chicago, and I'll come back to you, Stella, if we've got any questions. I'm seeing a chat. Let me see if any I can access the chat. There's one person got lost.
Okay, Bill, I think we do have some questions.
Okay.
Let me look in the chat. Okay, we do. Okay. It says, thank you for the presentation. I know we learned about exports. Do you work with companies who want to import as well?
Here's how we're paid to promote exports. But if somebody calls me up and has a question about importing and I can answer it, I answer it. Or if I can point them in the direction of somebody who can help them, I point them in that direction. Now, if you're interested in imports, let's say you're interested in importing from, pick a country, you're interested in importing something from Italy. Well, Italy has a trade office. Let's who's downtown? Let me think of somebody who's downtown. You're interested in importing from Mexico. Well, Mexico has a consulate downtown. Their job is to help bring Mexican products into the U.S. That's who I'd reach out to, is the country where your product is coming from. Again, we'll help you if we can, but it's not really what we focus on. But go to the country where your products are coming from, and their job is to help you. So that's where I'd go.
Okay, next question. You know the Chinese products are very competitive. How can you help in this regard?
Well, that's a pretty general question. Chinese products are very competitive because they're lower cost, right? So, so you as an American company have to find a way to compete other than on price. So you compete on customer service, you compete on quality, you compete on speed of delivery, you can you compete on after sales support. So if you compete on price, you're going to lose to them. The thing is, there's only when you compete on price, there's only one winner, the guy with the lowest cost. So you have to find other ways to compete. And you know, the Chinese story has been around for a while. You know, the Chinese products have been in this country for, I don't know, in a big way the last 15 and 20 years. And a lot of companies have solved that by finding, again, other ways to compete. And, you know, that's where the strategy comes in. And if you've got it's something where we would talk it over. Somebody came to me, it's like, okay, you know, let's brainstorm this. We've got to find a way to find a new way to compete against Chinese products. And you know what? The other part is you're not going to beat them on price. So you have to so don't even try. Don't even try to cut your prices to compete on to beat them on price. Beat them another way.
It looks like we don't have any more questions after that one. Let me double check
I
the
saw
Q&A
something.
box.
Yeah, I saw something on tech, but it sort of came and went on my screen.
There's nothing in the Q&A box. Let me double check the chat
You know,
box one more time.
yeah, I see
Oh,
something from
wait, they're coming in.
Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. It just came in. Are there programs focused on technology businesses that want to expand internationally?
Yes. The answer is yes. What it comes to mind today is, you know, health tech, med tech is a big space, and the U.S. the Commercial Service has special programs, special support services in place to promote, for example, health tech. Um, there are other private sector providers that promote and incubate tech companies to export as well. So I think the answer is yes. The one that comes to mind is health tech, but I believe there are others. There's food tech. I know of other organizations that promote that as well. So the answer is yes. I know some of them. I don't know all of them, but if you want to connect with me, I could try to find a specific to your business, Carlos.
Can you please show the previous slides that with the point of contact?
I think it's still up, right? You see it?
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I
And
hope she sees it too.
Stella, do you want me to send these? Well, you got them, right? You can, I guess you can send
Yeah, I
these out
have
if
them.
you want.
Yeah. Mhm. And this webinar will be available on the Chicago BACP YouTube page, probably by Friday. So if you need to review this webinar again, you can visit our YouTube page, Chicago BACP. I don't see anything else. So I guess, do you have any last words of encouragement?
Yeah, that you're not alone out there. Again, there's a lot of people that are their jobs are to assist you, and it doesn't cost anything to ask and explore and sort of brainstorm it if you're thinking about exporting. So feel free to reach out as you'd like.
Thank you, Bill, so much for this presentation, and thank you for attending. I hope that this was very informative. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov/business education. You can join us tomorrow for our Small Business E-Expo. To register for that expo, please visit shybizexpo.com. We will have live one-on-one advice from over 25 exhibitors, both government and non-government. So hope that you can attend our webinar tomorrow. We'll feature an expo tomorrow. We'll feature webinars by Facebook, Fifth Third Bank, a panel discussion led by our Chief Small Business Officer, Kenya Merritt, entitled Turning Your Passion into a Business. So I hope that you guys will be able to log in tomorrow. And thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.